Brocade has been a pioneer in the SAN business and now bringing the power of the SAN technology on the Ethernet side and becoming data center specialists. That is the strategy for Brocade. Now in India, as we see the growth driven by the transition from 3G to 4G, the transition from 10 gig to 40 gig, mainly driven by initiatives of the government like Digital India, growth in enterprise, growth in consumerization, where e-commerce, banking, mandatory regulations driven by the government, really forcing IT to rethink how it works today, to innovate, to bring agility, and to be able to provide services on demand, which is very different from how IT used to function until a couple of years ago. And this kind of drive, this kind of change in IT has to be driven by technologies such as network function virtualization, the ability to bring a network up on demand, the ability to meet needs as and when, only when the need arises, and not have to spend dollars when there is no need for a particular function in the network. So NFV really changes the way IT will be able to function. Additionally, software-defined networking, the ability to program the network based on what the network needs to do rather than what the network should carry. So there's a lot of intelligence now being brought down into the network and driven by applications from a business perspective. Brocade's role here is pioneering, because Brocade is pioneering in the space of SDN. Big contributions to Open Daylight, big contributions to OpenStack development, so both from a controller and orchestration perspective. The founding fathers of these consortiums are themselves part of Brocade now, and we're very proud of that. So we're really pioneering in this space. And when it comes to network function virtualization, we have solutions from basic routers all the way to packet cores and service providers. So that is really Brocade's strategy as it comes to the market space. So the transformation in IT is really being driven by few market forces in India. And these are massive changes that will change the way our economy runs. First is Digital India. $19 billion investment by the Indian government will drive changes both in the network and in the data center. Network when it comes to statewide area networks, the lands within the government buildings, as well as large investments in the data center driven by data which will be generated by Digital India, right? So there is, this data will require applications to make intelligent information from this data. Applications need low latency, very high performing network environments, and that's where Brocade has its strength. The second element would be banking. The growth in the banking sector, the fact that most banking is done through mobile devices today. Many people have not visited branches in a couple of months, if not years. And that means the onus is on the network. The onus is to ensure that data is securely transferred from user equipment all the way to the bank's data centers. So data centers, again, of prime importance, both in terms of security, enable and shorter latency, higher response time, better user experience. That's another great reason why Brocade would be a data center specialist and would be ideal choice for the banking environment. The third large industry in India is the e-commerce industry, which is born a couple of years ago and going up to the $22 billion mark. This industry is a very B2C oriented, very interactive industry. And what is very important is to ensure that every e-commerce vendor keeps track of what is happening in the competitive space, continues to innovate. And in this industry, IT is equal to business. Without IT, there is no business in the e-commerce industry. So more and more, the network plays a huge role in ensuring that the e-commerce client continues to remain competitive, offers the best quality of experience to their customers. So it's really government, banking, and e-commerce where we see a huge need in having specialized, optimal, and non-disruptive data center networks. And that's why Brocade is so well placed to play in this environment. The new IP is all about agility. The capability for the business to tell IT what needs to be done and the IT not to take forever to react. the ability for IT to be nimble and as business needs arise, be able to satisfy them immediately. Also, most importantly, for IT to be able to predict what comes next. All this can be driven with an open architecture. If you know what's coming 6 months down the road, you can plan for it. But in today's environment, look at e-commerce. It wasn't present a couple of years ago, and now it's one of the biggest industries in India. So it's very important that IT, when the IT team creates an infrastructure, whether it's in the data center or in the campus, it's a completely open architecture, a multi-vendor environment where the best of breed can be brought in, can be programmed according to the needs of the business. And today it's an internet of applications. So applications drive business, business needs to drive IT. That's where SDN comes into the role. Highly programmable networks with network functions which are virtualized will really enable IT to be agile, nimble, meet the needs of businesses and really adopt new IP easily. Brocade is the data center specialist and is pioneering technologies such as network function virtualization and software-defined networking. With this in mind, we have a very focused strategy for India. We primarily really approach our customers through our partners. We have a very focused view on sectors like banking, e-commerce, government, and manufacturing. An example of successes would be Videocon D2H, Micromax, and also in the healthcare industry, Omega Healthcare. We also have one of the largest apparel vendors in India as one of our customers, and they have had very successful sale drives with a robust network provided by Brocade. Additionally, one of the largest D2H vendors in India is also a customer of Brocade and have had successfully working with technology partners like us to roll out services in a very competitive environment. So I'd like to share with you some of our public case studies in India. Videocon D2H, which is one of the largest D2H providers in India, were facing issues due to high demand on D2H and were not able to scale to the needs of their customers. When they were deciding on which network technology to choose in their data center, they needed architecture which would scale out on demand. So start small and scale out as their needs grew. And that's why they chose the robust Ethernet fabric from Brocade. Brocade's virtual cluster switching technology provided them the automation, the non-disruptiveness, the full utilization that only Brocade can provide, and gave and ensured that Videocon could grow as their business grew. The second public case study I'd like to share with you is about the Micromax, the phone vendor Micromax. Micromax were deploying a number of applications in their data center, really tracking their user experience, the sales of their products throughout the country. And hence, growing from a couple of applications to a large number of applications needed their network to also be robust enough to allow the east-west communication in their data center. This was most efficiently enabled by Brocade's Ethernet fabric again. The automation, the full utilization, the optimal buffer size, the lowest latency that Brocade's Ethernet fabrics were able to provide really met the needs of Micromax, and we have a great technology partnership with them. In addition to that, one of India's largest apparel vendors runs all their applications and their backend on Brocade's fabric. They were able to meet multiple demands across sales over the last couple of months with Brocade's robust fabric. They have hit numbers such as 6 million hits over a matter of 48 hours and absolutely not one loss from the network. So again, another great example of how Brocade provides a very robust infrastructure for the e-commerce industry. And lastly, I'll share with you a case study of, again, another D2H provider. They were again expanding, in the role of expanding and looking for a vendor which could really grow as their business grew. And Brocade's technology, with all the benefits of the SAN fabric brought into the IP space, into the Ethernet fabric space, allowed us to provide them with the best solution for their data center and their growing data center.